Welcome to Wellness 7000.
You ever get that weird ache in your back or that annoying stomach pain and think, oh, it's just stress? But what if those symptoms are actually your body, trying to send you a message, a kind of language most of us never learn to interpret?
It's wild to think about. But Dr. Gabor Mate, the trauma guy everyone's been quoting lately, actually believes our bodies are like giant billboards for our emotional stories. Chronic pain, autoimmune chaos, gut issues, they could all be your body's way of waving a red flag you've been ignoring.
So you're saying if I get a headache after a family dinner, it's not just the mashed potatoes or my uncle's political rants?
Honestly, maybe it's both. But for Dr. Mate, it's less about blaming the potatoes and more about how past stress or emotions live on in our bodies even decades later. That actually brings us to who this guy is and why his approach is shaking up both medicine and psychology.
I first heard about Mate when a friend shoved his book in my hands and said, "This explains my migraines." But who really is he, and why all the buzz?
Mate has seen it all he's worked with. Hardcore addiction on Vancouver's toughest streets, spent decades with trauma survivors, and he's actually walked his own bumpy road with chronic illness. What makes him stand out is that he refuses to just ask, "What's wrong with you?" Instead, he gets personal and asks, "What happened to you?"
That tiny shift asking about someone's story instead of just their symptoms feels like a game changer. It's like he's reading the stuff between the lines, not just the chart notes.
For sure. And his approach comes from years of noticing patterns that most doctors overlook. Whether it's addiction, ADHD, or cancer, he sees how emotional wounds and life stories literally shape our health. It's not just theory, he's lived it, treated it, and researched the science behind it.
So here's what blows my mind. For years, Western medicine acted like our brains and our bodies were totally separate. Like if you have a stomach ulcer, you take a pill. If you're sad, you see a therapist. No crossover, right?
That old school split is what Mate calls the big illusion. Science now shows our emotions kick off real, measurable changes in our immune system, hormones, even how our genes work. You know those days when stress knots up your shoulders, or your stomach flips out before a big talk? That's biology in action.
And apparently, if you stay in that stress mode long term, like on constant high alert, your body starts to break down in all sorts of creative and not so fun ways.
Exactly. Chronic stress pumps out hormones like cortisol that just wreak havoc everywhere. Trauma and emotional pain get stuck in the body, rewriting how we function. It's not just a metaphor. This stuff shows up in brain scans, immune tests, and way too many doctor's visits.
It's one thing to say emotions affect our health, but Mate goes way further. He actually links specific emotional patterns to certain illnesses. Like, did you know people with autoimmune diseases often have trouble saying no or feel guilty putting themselves first?
That's one of the wildest parts of his work. He talks about the cost of being nice, where folks are so good at pleasing others, they end up turning that stress inward. In autoimmune diseases, the body literally attacks itself, and Mate wonders if that mirrors a kind of self-rejection.
And chronic pain? Turns out it's not just about old injuries. People with back pain might be carrying emotional burdens too, feeling unsupported or overwhelmed.
He even points out how gut issues can reflect our struggles with digesting tough experiences or feelings. There's a reason the gut's called the second brain. It's got more nerves than your spinal cord.
What really stops me is this idea that being a people pleaser isn't just exhausting, according to Mate. It can make you physically sick. Like, always putting others first could actually rewire your immune system?
It's tough to hear, but he sees it all the time. So many women, especially, are raised to be caregivers, to keep the peace. Over time, constantly swallowing your needs and emotions builds up stress your body can't ignore.
But it's not about blaming anyone, right? These habits were survival tactics, ways kids learn to stay safe or loved.
Totally. And Mate is super clear this isn't about fault. It's about recognizing how these patterns start, and how, if we keep ignoring our authentic needs, our bodies may start shouting for our attention in the form of illness. Which brings us right to how healing actually happens.
I love that Mate isn't preaching about miracle cures. Instead, his stories are about people finally expressing anger, setting boundaries, or digging into old trauma and suddenly seeing their symptoms improve.
It's so hopeful. Like the woman with arthritis who started feeling better once she could say what she really felt. Or the guy with chronic fatigue, his big shift was just learning to say no to endless demands.
But he's not saying ditch your medicine and just be authentic. It's about treating the whole person, not just slapping a Band-Aid on symptoms.
Exactly. Healing can mean therapy, rest, boundary setting, or addressing trauma. Mate's point is, when you listen to what your body's been trying to say all along, real change gets possible physically and emotionally.
So here's the million-dollar question. Are we brave enough to tune into what our bodies are actually telling us? It's not always easy or comfortable.
But it's worth it. Digging into those patterns, setting boundaries, feeling what we've buried, it's how we break the cycle. And honestly, who doesn't want more authenticity and less pain?
If this chat sparked something in you, maybe share it with a friend. Sometimes the biggest transformations start with a single conversation.
And hey, drop us a comment about which part hit home for you. Your story might be the encouragement someone else needs. Here's to healing not just bodies, but whole lives.
Thanks for joining me on Wellness 7000.